Winter, 1925. In the remote town of Nome, Alaska, children began dying from a terrifying disease. Their throats swelled shut, making it impossible to breathe. Doctors knew the cure, but there was a problem. The only medicine that could stop the outbreak was 674 miles away. Blizzards were raging. Temperatures had plunged to 50 degrees below zero. Planes couldn't fly. Ships couldn't move through the frozen sea, which meant the survival of the entire town depended on something almost unbelievable: a relay of 150 sled dogs racing through the Alaskan wilderness. What happened next would become one of the most incredible rescue missions in history, and eventually inspire the legendary Iditarod sled dog race. To understand the Iditarod, we have to go back to a time when Alaska was one of the most isolated places in the world. At the end of the 1800s, thousands of prospectors flooded into the region during the Klondike and Nome gold rushes. Entire towns appeared almost overnight, but there was one major problem. There were no roads connecting these settlements. In winter, temperatures could plunge to minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Blizzards could erase trails in minutes. In this environment, survival depended on one thing: sled dogs. For generations, indigenous Alaskan communities had relied on dog teams to travel across the frozen wilderness. Mushers adopted these techniques, building teams of powerful dogs capable of pulling heavy sleds across snow and ice. These teams carried mail, supplies, and medicine between distant settlements. One of the most important of these routes became known as the Iditarod Trail. Stretching more than 1,000 miles, it connected Alaska's southern ports to the remote western town of Nome. For decades, dog teams traveled this trail in brutal conditions. But in 1925, that trail would become the only hope for an entire town. In January of 1925, Nome's only doctor, Dr. Curtis Welch, noticed something alarming. Several children had symptoms of diphtheria, a highly contagious disease that attacks the throat and airways. Without treatment, the infection could spread rapidly and suffocate its victims. The town had about 1,400 residents, but nearby villages depended on Nome for supplies and medical care. If the outbreak spread, it could devastate communities across the region. Dr. Welch quickly checked the town's supply of antitoxin, but the medicine had expired. Fresh serum existed, but it was stored nearly 700 miles away in Anchorage. In the middle of winter, that distance might as well have been the other side of the world. Officials quickly searched for ways to transport the life-saving medicine. Could a ship bring it? No. The Bering Sea was completely frozen. What about airplanes? Early aircraft simply couldn't survive the Arctic winter. Temperatures dropped to minus 50 degrees. Engines froze. Visibility vanished in blizzards. There was only one option left: dog sleds. Authorities decided to send the serum by train from Anchorage to Nenana, the last stop on Alaska's railroad. From there, a relay of mushers would carry the medicine across the frozen wilderness to Nome. It would be a race against time. The mission began on January 27, 1925. The serum arrived in Nenana packed in a small metal container wrapped in fur to prevent freezing. From there, the relay teams began their dangerous journey. More than 20 mushers and around 150 sled dogs would participate in the rescue. Each musher would travel a section of the trail before handing the serum to the next team. Day and night, the teams pushed forward. Blizzards reduced visibility to almost nothing. Temperatures fell below minus 60 degrees. One of the most difficult legs of the journey was led by musher Leonard Sapala and his legendary lead dog Togo. Sapala and Togo traveled nearly 260 miles, the longest and most dangerous section of the relay. At one point, they crossed the unstable ice of Norton Sound, where the frozen ocean could break apart without warning. If the ice gave way, the team would vanish into the freezing water. But Togo's instincts guided them safely across. Hour after hour, mile after mile, the teams carried the precious cargo westward. Finally, the final leg of the journey was taken by musher Gunnar Kazan and his lead dog Balto. Through a raging blizzard, Kazan pushed forward when many believed the mission might fail. In the early morning hours of February 2nd, the sled team arrived in Nome. The journey had taken just 5.5 days. The serum was delivered, and the outbreak was stopped. News of the incredible rescue spread quickly across the United States and around the world. The sled dogs and mushers became international heroes. Statues were built in honor of Balto, the lead dog of the final team. But many historians later pointed out that Togo, who ran the longest and most dangerous part of the route, may have been the true hero of the mission. Together, these teams had accomplished something almost unimaginable. They had carried life-saving medicine across nearly 700 miles of Arctic wilderness in the dead of winter, and they had saved an entire town. As the decades passed, Alaska began to modernize. Airplanes, snowmobiles, and new roads slowly replaced sled dog transportation. The once famous Iditarod Trail faded into history, but one man refused to let that story disappear. His name was Joe Redington Sr., a passionate musher who believed the legacy of sled dogs should never be forgotten. Redington proposed creating a race that would follow the historic trail from Anchorage to Nome, a race that would test the endurance of both mushers and their dog teams. In 1973, the first official Iditarod Trail sled dog race was held. The course stretched nearly 1,000 miles across Alaska's rugged wilderness. The race quickly became known as the last great race on Earth. Today, the Iditarod remains one of the most challenging endurance races in the world. Teams of 12 to 16 sled dogs pull their mushers across frozen rivers, mountain ranges, and vast stretches of tundra. The race takes 8 to 10 days to complete. Along the route, teams stop at remote checkpoints where veterinarians examine every dog to ensure their health and safety. These dogs are elite endurance athletes. Some can run over 100 miles in a single day. For mushers, success depends on trust, teamwork, and the bond between human and dog. Today, the Iditarod also faces new challenges. Animal welfare organizations have raised concerns about the safety of sled dog racing. Supporters argue the race preserves an important part of Alaskan history and celebrates the incredible capabilities of sled dogs. Critics believe the risks are too high. The debate continues as the race evolves. But one thing remains certain. Nearly a century after the Great Serum Run saved the town of Nome, sled dog teams still travel across Alaska's frozen wilderness. They follow the same historic trails once used by the mushers and dogs who race against time to deliver life-saving medicine. The Iditarod is more than a race. It's a living reminder of courage, endurance, and one of the most remarkable rescue missions in history. A story where survival depended not on machines, but on determination, teamwork, and a team of sled dogs running through the Arctic storm. We thank you. If you made it this far, please take a quick moment to subscribe, like, share, and ring the notification bell to stay informed. And for more insights, consider a membership with multiple options and benefits. And as always, be safe. Welcome to the Inner Circle. This isn't just a membership, it's a mission. You're supporting forensic truth, mythic blends, and ceremonial broadcasts that honor every moment. Members unlock exclusive enhancements, behind-the-scenes alerts, and direct access to the pulse of Time Scape news and leading sponsor, Gold Rush Fever Specialty Coffee. Join us and help shape the signal. We thank you, and as always, stay safe. That's the latest from Time Scape news. We're live. We're watching. We thank you. Subscribe, like, share, and ring the bell so you don't miss what breaks next. Stay with us. We appreciate you, and as always, be safe.